Okay, start.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to the ESTDP on dairy business management during and post COVID-19. So, this is the technical session 2, and we have two experts with us. First one is Dr. PG Vasnik sir, and second one is Dr. AU Bikani sir. So, I will introduce one by one. Dr. PG Vasnik sir is Dean of Faculty of Dairy Technology, Maharashtra Animal Fishery Sciences University in Nagpur. Sir is having the more than 30 years of experience in teaching, research and extension activities. As well as per the research concern, sir has handled three major projects in his credits. As per the publication point of view, sir has published the 25 publication in national and international level, 2 books and 5 book chapters. As per the extension concern, sir has conducted many more STDPs, workshop, farmer scientist meet, etc. And as per the second expert, Dr. AU Bikani sir did his post-graduation in veterinary medicine in 1989 from MAU Parbhani and got a certificate of merit for securing highest mark in MUSC. He completed his PhD from MAFS Nagpur in 2001. He is actively engaged in teaching, research, extension and clinical activities from last 30 years. At present, he is working as professor and university head, Department of Veterinary Clinical Medicine and Extension and Clinical Activities from last 30 years. At present, he is working as professor and university head, Department of Veterinary Clinical Medicine and Extension and Clinical Activities from last 30 years. At present, he is working as professor and university head, Department of Veterinary Clinical Medicine and Extension and Clinical Activities from last 30 years. At present, he is working as professor and university head, Department of Veterinary Clinical Medicine and Extension and Clinical Activities from last 30 years. At present, he is working as professor and university head, Department of Veterinary Clinical Medicine and Extension and Clinical Activities from last 30 years. At present, he is working as professor. Vikas Ratna Gold Medal Award 2006, DC Blood Gold Medal Award 2008, Shri Matunga Jain Vikas Ratna Gold Medal Award 2006, DC Blood Gold Medal Award 2008, Shri Mapsu Best Researcher Scholar Award in 2009 and Mapsu Best Teacher Extension Matunga Jain Vikas Ratna Gold Medal Award 2006, DC Blood Gold Medal Award 2008, Shri Mapsu Best Researcher Scholar published by Award in 2009 and Mapsu Best Teacher Matunga Jain Vikas Ratna Gold Medal Award 2006, DC National Biographical Center, Cambridge University, England. He has worked as a member, Academic Council convener, Board of Studies in Agriculture, Animal Sciences, Universities, Board of Secondary and Higher Secondary Education, Maharashtra State, Pune, from last 16 years. He has established Devni Cattle Museum at Poas Udgir, organized 425 animal health camps, dog health camps, donkey health camps, 337 practical demonstration of spraying, deworming, CMT, urea molasses, and 19 farmers training as a coordinator. Then, sir has created mass awareness among the livestock owners about feeding, breeding, management, animal health, control measure through the different awareness program. Sir has completed 25 radio talks as per the extension activities concern and 16 TV talks. 449 farmer scientist lectures at Gram Sabha village level. He has transferred advanced knowledge of veterinary medicine to the field of veterinary and livestock supervisor from state of Maharashtra for early diagnosis, effective treatment and timely control of animal diseases through 105 lectures. in training programs, workshop and seminars. 28 trainings and personal guidance telephonically on the WhatsApp group. So, I welcome to Dr. PG Vasnik sir. Sir, please, I will hand over the session to you. Please start your session.
Okay, thank you, Vijay.
Sir,
So, good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, all. At the outset, let me congratulate Parul Institute of Technology for organizing such a massive webinar series. I am particularly thankful to Dr. Vijay Kede and his team for inviting me as a speaker in this webinar series. The topic given to me is hygienic and sanitizing practices at dairy plant during and post COVID-19. The unexpected and sudden eruption of COVID-19 pandemic in India has disrupted everything, and we have passed through the lockdown 1 to 4 and now experiencing unlock 1, and in which we are responsible for our own act. COVID-19 pandemic forced us to think about the current situation of our milk industry and what is required to be adopted to save our employees working in the dairy industry. We are following the very robust food safety management system in our dairy processing plants. And therefore, according to the WHO, the coronavirus is spreading through droplets of sneeze and cough of infected person, human to human transmission, and contact of infected surfaces. WHO, FAO, IDF, and FSSAI has released the various guidelines to protect the dairy farmers, workers in the dairy industry, supply chain managers, retailers, and consumers. Considering the fact, I have prepared my presentation and will cover all the points such as milk production, collection, raw milk transport, milk processing and distribution in my presentation. We are the largest producer of milk, producing around 187 million metric ton of milk. But it is not a mass production, but large number of small dairy farmers are involved in this business. At the milking parlor, the personal hygiene of milker, animal and utensils used for milking should be maintained. The entire space of milking parlor should be sanitized before and after use. Now I will share my presentation. So I told you that at the dairy farm,
full screen.
we are maintaining the hygiene of the animals, hygiene of the milker, and we are sanitizing the utensils frequently before use and after use. The milk should be poured at the earliest to the collection center. At the collection center, we have to follow the physical distancing. We have to follow the sanitizing practices such as hand washing, the frequent sanitization of equipments, doors and its handles. We have to educate the farmers, and we have to create the awareness in the farmers by distributing the pamphlets, posters, and organizing the trainings. We have to check the health status of the milk pourers, that is our farmers, and the workers which are working in our milk collection center with the help of the medical practitioner. Here, the physical distancing should be maintained in the milk collection center. We have to use the hand wash and hand sanitizers before pouring the milk. And as soon as we pour the milk, we should return to our home directly, and we should not stay at the parlor or milk collection center for the longer time. There are 10 points that we should follow at the milk collection center. That is, a schedule of milk pouring is to be defined. That is, we should collect the milk in a cluster wise or in a mohalla wise collection. Then we have to maintain the safe distance of more than 1 meter between the two individual milk pourers. We have to wash our hands with soap and water, and we have to use the face mask. Putting in place the hand sanitizer dispenser at the entry and exit of the collection center. We have to give the separate entry and exit to the farmers. The bulk milk coolers and chillers should be cleaned following the standard operating procedure. The frequent cleaning of surfaces such as desks, tables, objects such as telephones, keyboards, computer, mouse, and that is automatic milk units that should be disinfected. All equipments and machinery used in the collection, preservation and dispatch is to be cleaned, sanitized before and after use. The entry of drivers involved in the milk transportation may be avoided in the BMC and chilling centers. And we have to follow the digital mode of milk receipts and payments, and it should be promoted. We have to maintain the thermal scan or temperature of each and every employee which is coming to the dairy plant. We have to sanitize the vehicles which are coming to the dairy plant. At the gate itself, we are sanitizing our hands, and we are entering the plant by following the social distancing. At the entry gate itself, they are distributing the mask and caps to the workers so that we can avoid the spread of this coronavirus. We are maintaining the social distancing and physical distancing in the various working conditions. We are minimizing the staff at the workstations. In the canteens also, we are making the special arrangements for the workers so that the physical distancing can be maintained in the canteen. We are providing the hand wash before food and hand sanitizers. We are preparing a schedule for the different departments that there should not be any traffic jam or rush in the canteen, or at a time the minimum staff should take their lunch in the canteen. That practices we are following. At the reception dock, we are disinfecting the physical documents. We are avoiding the touching. We are washing our hands. The drivers and cleaners of the pickup vans are not allowed beyond the certain points. We are cleaning the road tankers, that is the outside surface of the road tanker or milk tankers, and we are sanitizing the hose pipes. We are cleaning if we are receiving the milk in tanks, then we are cleaning the tanks, cans from the outside, and if we are sanitizing it, then after sanitizing, again we are washing the cans from the outside with the help of cold water. We are keeping the fresh received stock separately, and we are not mixing it with the old stock because it may contaminate the old stock. We are cleaning and disinfecting our gloves and milk handling equipments. We are restricting the entry of the laborers in the production area. The very important point that will create the hazard in the dairy industry is the frequently touch points. These frequently touch points are the tables and chairs, hand railings, AC switches, AC remotes, door handles. All these things we are touching it frequently. So these touch points should be regularly cleaned and sanitized. Our vehicles should be sanitized and cleaned from the outside. Also, we are regularly deep cleaning our dairy floors and the property counters of the workers. In this slide also, I have shown the same thing, that is, we are cleaning the machines and equipments which are used in the dairy plant. Here the office space I have shown, and where on each table you can see the sanitizer bottle is placed, and we are forcing the employees to use this sanitizer before and after entering the meeting room. Now we will see the cleaning operations which we are carrying out in our dairy industry. So what is this? Cleaning is the complete removal of food soil using the appropriate detergent chemicals under the recommended conditions. These detergents are the complex mixtures of chemicals combined to achieve the specific purpose. So these are the different soils which adheres on the equipment surfaces in the dairy and food industry. And here in this table, I have shown its solubility, its ease of removal, and its reaction with the heat. Here sugar, fat, protein, these are available in our dairy industry, but starch it is available in the food industry. Generally, we are following this cleaning cycle, as first we are rinsing, then we are cleaning with the alkaline solution, then by acid solution, again we are rinsing, and then after that we are following the sanitizing process. We are following the 3 cleaning systems such as CIP, that is cleaning in place, clean out of place, that is COP, and manual cleaning. In CIP, generally we are following in the dairy industry, and the recent development in this CIP, we are using the ice pegging, and where we are using the ice pegs for cleaning the pipes in the dairy industry. It is the very effective method and very economical also, and we are running this in the pilot scale at various dairy plants. So this detergent should have the various properties, of which the main properties I have mentioned in this slide. That detergent should not be corrosive. It must wet, penetrate, and disperse the soil easily. It should dissolve the hard water deposits, and it should reduce the surface tension and interfacial tension, and it should be free from the abrasive particles. The physical active ingredients play the characteristic role such as solubility or colloidal stability, and chemical active ingredients modify the soil components to make them more soluble, and thus they become easier to remove. The function in detergents by promoting the physical cleaning actions are emulsification, penetration, spreading, foaming, and wetting. These are some of the functions of the detergents which we are using in our dairy industry. The common detergents which we are using in the dairy industry are the alkali types such as soda ash, caustic soda, sodium bicarbonate, sodium metasilicate, trisodium phosphate, and these are having the properties such as protein dissolving agents, emulsifiers, and bactericidal agents. Then acidic detergents are the phosphoric, nitric, sulfonic, sodium acid sulfate, hydrochloric acid, hydroxyacetic acid, citric acid, and gluconic acid. Acid detergents are also used for prevention and removal of stones, films, which are formed in the equipment and which are exposed for the very high temperatures. The definition of sanitizing for food product contact surfaces is a process which reduces the contamination level by 99.999% in 30 seconds. For non-product contact surfaces, it requires a contamination reduction of 99.9%. The standard test organism for the sanitization is the Staphylococcus aureus and Escherichia coli. There are thermal sanitizers and chemical sanitizers. So thermal sanitization, it depends on the initial contamination of load, humidity, pH, temperature and time. So in which, with the help of steam also, we can carry out this sanitization, but it is having the limited application and it is the expensive operation because generation of steam is highly expensive and it is difficult to regulate because we can't regulate the temperature and time. And its byproduct, that is the condensate, it is very complicated to adjust. We are also using the hot water for sanitizing, and in dairy industry generally we are using the 85 degrees centigrade water for floor cleaning operations. It is relatively inexpensive, it is easy to apply and readily available, generally effective over a broad range of microorganisms. It is relatively non-corrosive and it penetrates into the cracks and crevices. But there are certain disadvantages also because it is a slow process which requires a come up and cool down time. It will have a high energy cost. The employees may get the burns because of the hot water and forming or contributing to film formation because of we are exposing the floors and surfaces to the high temperature. Then it may shorten the life of the rubber parts such as gaskets and O-rings which we are using in our dairy industry. So chemical sanitizers are having certain properties and it should be approved for food contact surface application, have a wide range of scope of activity, it should destroy the microorganisms rapidly, and it should be stable under all types of conditions. It should be tolerant to broad range of environmental conditions. It should be readily solubilized and process some detergency, be low in toxicity and corrosivity, and it should be inexpensive. Some physical factors I am discussing here, having its surface characteristics, exposure time and temperature, concentration, and soil. Chemical factors on which it will depend is the pH, water properties, and inactivators. So chlorine-based sanitizers are available, iodine-based, quaternary ammonium compounds, acid ionic sanitizers, fatty acid sanitizers, and peroxidized. So chlorine-based sanitizers, we are using the 50 ppm in water at around 75 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit for 7 seconds in the sanitization. It is having the advantages as it is economical, it is effective against most bacteria, spores and phages, it is readily available in liquid and in granular form, and it is not affected by the hard water. For sanitizing the tankers and other equipments from the outside, generally we are using the 100 ppm concentration or 1% solution of the sanitizer, chlorine hypochlorite solution for the sanitization. It is having certain disadvantages also. As it is a chlorine based, it is corrosive. Effectiveness is pH dependent. The strength dissipates under storage, heat or light. If it is exposed to skin, then our skin may irritate, and it is having the objectionable odor. It is hard on rubber parts. Then there are iodine based sanitizers are there. They are used in the proportion as 12.5 to 25 ppm in water, at least at 75 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds. And it is color indicative of strength. Activity is less affected by the organics and effective against wide variety of non-spore formers are some of the advantages of this iodine. The solution not affected by the hard water salt, not a skin irritant, it is stable, having a long shelf life, and it is non-corrosive. So its disadvantages are effectiveness decreases with the increased pH. It may discolor the equipment. It is less effective against the spores, and it should be used above 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and it may produce the off flavors. Then QSE, that is the quaternary ammonium compounds, up to 200 ppm in water at 75 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 seconds we are using. It is also having certain advantages, and it is also having certain disadvantages. I will not go in detail about this. These ionic sanitizers are also there. They are also having certain advantages and disadvantages, but we are not using these in our dairy industry. In this table, I have shown the comparison of the properties of sanitizers. The chlorine, iodophos, that QSE, acid, ionic, fatty acid are some of the sanitizers I have shown here, and its corrosiveness, irritating skin, effectiveness at pH, effectiveness at acid pH, all these properties I have mentioned. So I will share this PPT with the organizers, and you can have a look on this table. So now we will see the hygienic practices for the transportation. That is, the supervisors and medical personnel should have the N95 mask, because they are the most vulnerable persons and they are exposed to the various persons, and they are coming in contact with the visitors and all those laborers, workers in the dairy plants. So they must possess, or they must wear this N95 mask to protect themselves. The person involved in this activity should use, or the persons involved in crate handling, that is crate unloading, should be provided with the PPE. I have mentioned this point here because it is the most important point, because our crates, whatever the milk we are sending to the market, and we are unloading the crates at the retailer, and those crates are coming again to our dairy factory or processing plant. So those crates might be contaminated with the virus. So we have to take the utmost care for handling these crates. Therefore, I have mentioned here the persons handling these crates should be provided with the PPE suit, and they should provide with the face shield, and crates should be sanitized with the hot water of 85 degrees centigrade. These are the guidelines for various, that is the IDF guidelines are there, FAO guidelines are there, WHO guidelines are there, and FSSAI guidelines are there. I have shown some of the pictures of these guidelines, and this is the reference material for the students. They can go to the site and collect these. So our last part is the post-COVID practices that we should follow, because this pandemic will not end here. We have to follow the physical distancing. We have to follow the norms, whatever the government has formed for around a year or two, because this virus will be here in the environment. So we have to follow, and we are dealing with the milk, and the milk is consumed daily in a requisite quantity by every person. So we have to deal with very cautiously with this milk. So therefore, I have posted some of the points here where we have to maintain the daily visitors. We have to employ the digital communication and digital contactless system in the plant. So digital communication means what? Whatever the handless, we need not to lift our phone for the communication. We have to generate, or we should habituate ourselves that we should not touch our phone. Now digital contactless system means what? The that contactless lifts, then contactless gates, those should be provided, or sensor based gates. Then digital physical distancing, in that I mean to say that the cards will be provided to the workers, and if the workers are coming closer to each other, they will generate the signal, and the signal will go to the control room, and he will activate the buzzer so that no employee should come nearer to each other. Then regular and mechanical sanitation we have to follow. Then again we have to follow the digital process system. Digital process system means what? We will not operate the equipments by that our operating panel. We will not touch the operating panel. We will just simply by using our mobile phone, we can operate the equipment by sitting in our room, so that the frequent touch points we will avoid. Then we will maintain the personal hygiene. We will regular carry out the health checkup of our employees. We will keep the records of the health of our employees. We will ask the self declaration by the employees. We will restrict the entry at the gate itself, and the dairy industry should follow the e-marketing, because now the e-marketing is the boom in the market, creating the boom in the market, and dairy should enter in this e-market business, so that the milk and milk product should be available at the doorstep of the consumer. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Respected sir, thank you very much for such a wonderful pictorial presentation on the hygiene and sanitation practices at dairy plant during and post COVID-19. So now the topic is human animal interface reality. So I request Dr. Bhikane sir. Bhikane sir.
Okay.
Sir, welcome sir. I hand over the session to Dr. Bhikane sir. Please sir, welcome. Sir, please tell.
Just
Okay sir.
मी मला नंतर शेअर करा, थोडं बोलल्यानंतर. स्क्रीन शेअर बंद कर. स्क्रीन शेअर बंद कर. स्टॉप शेअर. नाही माझी स्क्रीन मी दिसलं पाहिजे, मला बोलायचं.
Okay sir. Carry on. Sir, carry on. This.
So good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
At the outset, I thank Parul University and my friend Dr. Vijay Kele for inviting me for this particular webinar. Friends, we all are passing through a very critical phase. Actually, whole world is facing the problem of COVID pandemic. Actually, this COVID pandemic has caused havoc in more than 210 countries from all over the world. And till date, more than 6 crore 38 lakh people they were affected with COVID-19 infection. And out of these 6 crore, more than 6 crore people, 3,77,000 people that have been died. Even India is also suffering from this problem a lot. And in India also, 1,99,000 people that have been affected, and more than 5,000 people that have been died till date. Due to this COVID pandemic, every sector, maybe a regional sector, maybe a country or whole world is affected. Livestock sector is also affected to the great extent because of all those 5 lockdowns, whatever restrictions the government has imposed on the maybe a traveling and all those things. Under such circumstances, and during this COVID outbreak, even there are some misconceptions, we'll say myths, among the people that the animals, they are transmitting the disease. And whole world has experienced and seen that some people, some pet owners, some cat owners, they have abandoned their pets, their cats. Looking to all these things, the organizers of this training program and webinar, they thought that I should make aware the delegates about the COVID-19 animal-human interface. What are the realities? What are the facts? Really, the animals, they are transmitting the disease. Really, the animals, they are susceptible to the coronavirus. So, I will share my presentation with all of you. Yes, can you see? Is it visible? Hello? Hello? इधर थोड़ा देर करना.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Just a minute. Now is the PPT visible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this COVID-19 has had a substantial impact on many sectors at regional, national, and global levels, including the livestock sector. The actions taken in many countries, such as lockdown, travel restrictions, and border controls, have resulted in negative consequences for the livestock sector, including difficulty in moving the live animals from one place to another, transportation of animal products like milk, meat, and yet to the markets, restricted capacity to purchase necessary production inputs, restricted access to labor as well as professional services, and these difficulties have led to decrease in the processing capacity for animal products. So here I'm actually going to share about the coronavirus. The coronaviruses are a large family of RNA viruses. There are a number of more than 100 coronaviruses that are found in the animals as well as the human beings. This coronavirus is a very beautiful virus, and this name it has derived from the word koron, ancient Greek word koron, meaning the crown. You can very well see this particular virus. Coronavirus infections They are common in animals and humans since long. Some strains of coronavirus are zoonotic in nature. That means those viruses, they are transmitted from animals. Those viruses are transmitted from animals to human beings. But there are many strains of coronavirus which are not zoonotic in nature, means they are not transmitted from animals to human beings and vice versa. So first of all, we'll discuss about the animal coronaviruses. There are a number of coronaviruses which are causing diseases in animals. And therefore, the people get confused with this COVID-19. See, in case of our large animals, particularly cattle and buffaloes, this bovine coronavirus disease has been recorded, and this disease is common, particularly in the cows. And in this particular disease, animal passes loose feces, that is diarrhea. Even this coronavirus infection has been recorded. 2 diseases due to coronavirus infection, they have been recorded in pigs. Number 1 is the porcine epidemic diarrhea, and the another one is a transmissible gastroenteritis. Both of these diseases in pigs, they are causing diarrhea. So that is the only typical symptom that is accompanied by sometimes omission and the loss of appetite, weakness, dehydration, and death. In felines, actually, coronavirus infection is very important, particularly in cats and even in wild felids like tigers. This feline infectious peritonitis occurs. And this particular disease is characterized by fever, rise in body temperature, even there is omission. There may be sometimes diarrhea, but the most typical sign of feline infectious peritonitis is enlargement or distension of abdomen. So cats, they appear weak, and their abdomen means the belly, it appears to be bigger. And finally, the cats, they die of this particular disease. In canines also, coronavirus infection is common, and even we are vaccinating our dogs against coronavirus in case of the canines or dogs. And particularly this canine coronavirus infection in dog is characterized again by omission and the diarrhea. These are the 2 typical signs, and very rarely the respiratory signs like coughing or nasal discharge may appear. But this is totally a different type of virus. In poultry also, the infectious bronchitis that is caused by coronavirus, this is a very age-old disease. This is one of the commonest disease of the poultry or chickens. And this particular disease is characterized by the nasal discharge. There is discharge from the nostrils. The affected birds, they may sneeze, they may show coughing. That is typical gasping, open mouth breathing. They open the beak and inhale the air. So that is a respiratory distress. Means the respiratory signs are very typical in poultry. Therefore, the signs of coronavirus infection, they appear more or less same to human beings in case of infectious bronchitis in case of the poultry. But in rest of the animals, usually the signs of diarrhea, they are present. Respiratory signs are not observed. But here I would like to make it very clear that all these animal coronaviruses, they are host specific. They are causing disease in that host only. They are not being transmitted from one host to another host. So the coronavirus specific to bovine cause disease only in bovines. The virus which is specific to cat will cause disease in cats. Likewise, the virus which is specific in canines will cause disease in canines. So it is very clear that these viruses are causing disease in animals. They are not affecting human beings. So one should not get confused with animal coronavirus and the human coronavirus. Then we'll talk little about the human coronaviruses. In human beings also, there are a number of coronaviruses that are causing infection. But among those, 7 are considered important. 4 viruses, they are causing mild disease like a common cold. We call it a cold or maybe a flu-like symptoms. And these viruses are very common. They are very commonly causing infection. As far as the rest of the 3 viruses are concerned, which are causing very severe type of the disease in human beings, which are causing severe type of or disease or life-threatening type of condition in human beings. So, which are those three viruses? The number one is number one virus that is called as the SARS-CoV. This SARS-CoV-1, which causes a severe acute respiratory syndrome. So this typical disease was caused by SARS-CoV-1 virus in 2002. It was recorded in the South China at that time, and it spread to 26 countries. It was also a pandemic because it involved a number of countries. When a disease spreads from one country to another, we call it as a pandemic, means when more number of countries in the world they are involved. And at that time also, this particular disease created a fear amongst the people from all over the world, and the 774 people, they died. So this was the first, you can say, the severe this virus which created a life-threatening condition. In 2012, again, more or less similar type of the virus belonging to the corona group, we call it as a MERS-CoV. So this emerged in 2012 in Saudi Arabia. We call it as a Middle East Respiratory Syndrome caused by MERS-CoV virus. And this disease also spread to 27 countries. And many people affected, but the mortality was comparatively less. Again, this particular disease reoccurred in South Korea in 2015. And even there are reports of this particular disease in 2019. So this disease is also prevalent in the world. So these were the two viruses earlier detected. These two viruses, they were thought to be originated in animals. And the first virus, that SARS-CoV, was transmitted from civet to human beings. So this was the animal which you can say acted as a source of this infection to the human beings. And the MERS-CoV, that is Middle East Respiratory Disease Syndrome, which started or which emerged in Saudi Arabia, where these camels were found to be the source of this infection. We talk about this history of COVID-19. This is now the seventh important coronavirus, and a third deadly, you see, the coronavirus, which is causing a current havoc or a pandemic around the world. So in late December, human cases of pneumonia of unknown origin, they were reported from Wuhan city, from the China. The pathogen isolated from the pneumonic patient was called as was termed as a novel coronavirus. So it was a new type of a coronavirus, therefore it called as a novel coronavirus that was named Severe Acute Respiratory Disease Syndrome coronavirus, that is SARS-CoV-2. So earlier SARS in 2002 CoV, and now it is a SARS-CoV-2. And the disease caused by this SARS-CoV-2 was subsequently designated as a COVID-19. That is a coronavirus. The long form of COVID is coronavirus disease 2019 by World Health Organization. As far as the history of this disease and the origin of this disease is concerned, the exact source of outbreak or the exact origin of this infection is still not known. But it is thought that the first infections were linked to the live animal market, where the animals, that is called as the wet market in China, where these wild animals and they are being sold for a slaughtering purpose. And so they were linked to the live animal market. And some workers, they consider that it might have originated in a horseshoe bat. It is originated in the bat, and pangolin, which is being consumed by the human beings from the China. So this infection might have picked up by pangolin from horseshoe, and through pangolin it might have caused the coronavirus infection in human beings. So this is the theory, but the world famous Lancet journal has ruled out even this theory, because the first case of COVID which appeared in Wuhan city was not linked to this live animal market. So here you can see this is the pangolin, and this is the horseshoe bat. So actually, bats, they harbor many viruses, and the mutations of the viruses, they are occurring. So when these bats, they come in contact with the other animals, you see, they may transmit the disease. So bats, they are not susceptible. They are susceptible to the infection, but the disease is not produced. They're transmitting the infection to the other animals. That is what's suspected. But still, it is not confirmed. Transmission of COVID-19, how this disease is transmitted. It is, everybody knows now that the disease is transmitted from person to person. When an infected person coughs, sneezes, or speaks loudly and produces a droplet of saliva or a discharge, nasal discharge, that reach the nose, mouth, and eyes of another person. So it is through droplets. When a person touches a contaminated objects or surfaces and then touches their eyes, nose, or mouth, the virus can be detected and isolated in feces, and role of fecal-oral transmission is yet to be determined. So this has not been that has not been confirmed. Sometimes you might have seen on WhatsApp, but this has not been confirmed. Aerosol transmission of the virus may be possible. Now, what are the signs of COD? Now we are well acquainted with these signs through media. Everybody knows that most typical signs of the COVID-19 are fever, tiredness, dry cough, and difficulty in breathing. These are the 4 typical signs which are being observed: fever, weakness, dry cough, and difficulty in breathing. But in some patients, there may be body pain, pain in the joints, pain in the muscles, chilling, and then running nose, that is nasal discharge, like a common cold. There may be a sore throat. So there may be pain in the throat region. Very rarely diarrhea may develop. You might have also come across with this report that there may be loss of smell and taste in some cases. So in the severe cases, actually the COVID can be complicated by a respiratory disease syndrome, and there will be a septicemia. So, and multiple organs. This is very important, where the many organs, they are involved, and in those patients, the condition is serious and they are dying. So you all know that most of the COVID-19 patients, particularly in the 80 to 85%, area-wise, there may be variations. Some say in 83, 85, or 80% patient, they experience a very mild or uncomplicated type of illness. 60, 65% individuals, they are not even exhibiting the symptoms. Few are exhibiting the symptoms, but those are very mild. And among the 14 to 15% patients, they are showing typical signs of COVID-19. They need hospitalization. And among those, 3 to 5% of the patients, they require intensive type of the care, and maybe a 2 or 3% of the patients, they are dying. I have thrown light on these symptoms in human beings because when we talk about the animals, we should be aware about how the disease is transmitted in the human beings and what are the symptoms in the human beings. Now we'll talk about the facts. What is the reality? Whether the canines, they are susceptible to COVID infection. So there was a first report in the last week of February, that is February 27 from Hong Kong, that the 2 dogs, they were found positive for COVID infection. Whatever samples of nasal and oral cavities they were collected, they were found to be positive for COVID-19 coronavirus infection. These pets were living with this is very important, that these dogs were not showing any symptom. These dogs were quite healthy. No sign was observed. But you see, the pet owner was positive for coronavirus. And therefore, the pet of that owner was tested for COVID and it was found positive. The owner was exhibiting the symptoms, but the pet was not exhibiting the symptom. This clearly indicate that the 2 dogs which were affected in the Hong Kong they were not exhibiting the symptoms, and they were not culprit for a human being. On the other side, the human beings, they were a culprit for dog. Experimental studies, they have been carried out on 5 dogs. In the experimental infection, SARS infection was given to 5 dogs. Out of those 5 dogs, in 2 dogs, the viral RNA, they were excreted through the feces, but none contained infectious virus. This is again very interesting. Experimentally also, the dogs, they didn't exhibit symptoms, and even they didn't pass the virus. These findings suggest that dog doesn't play any part in the epidemiology of COVID-19 or this particular disease. Based on these findings, it was highlighted that so far, positive findings in the companion animals were isolated cases. Then we'll discuss what about cats, whether cats are susceptible to COVID infection. Whether cats are susceptible to COVID infection. The cats, there was a first report you see, the COVID infection was in a cat was reported from Belgium on 31st March. Actually, OIE has conducted number of meetings in connection with COVID-19 and animals, and in its 4th meeting, this particular case was reported, and the cat was showing clinical signs of diarrhea. Yes, the earlier dogs, they were not exhibiting any sign, but the cat was exhibiting the signs of diarrhea, vomiting, and the anorexia, followed by coughing and superficial breathing. Although the signs were milder, but typical, you can see the respiratory signs were observed in the cats. These cats had a close contact with its owner, who was a COVID positive. Another report of COVID. This was the first report. That was on the 31st March. The another report came from New York on 22nd April, wherein 2 cats were found to be positive for COVID-19 infection. Again, here it was confirmed that the cat owner, at least one of the cat owner was suffering from COVID-19 infection. Again, these observations, this research clearly indicate that cats are susceptible, but cats are not, you see, the source of infection from the human beings. The COVID-19 and the domestic cats, again, for this, some experimental work has been carried out. The team led by virologist Bu Zhigao was able to create experimental infection in cats. These experimental cats were found to cause infection to uninfected. Here, this is very interesting. The experimentally infected cats, they were kept in a cage along with healthy cats. And whatever 3 healthy cats which were kept very close to these cats, 1 cat picked up the infection, suggesting that the virus may not be, suggests that the virus infection can be transmitted from 1 cat to another cat, but this particular infection is slowly transmitted. The team at Harbin Veterinary Research Institute in China found that cats are highly susceptible to COVID-19 and appear to be able to transmit virus through respiratory droplets to other cats. However, it should be remembered that cats are not playing much, if any, role in the spread of this virus, he said. Human-to-human transmission is clearly the main driver, so there is no need to be panicked about cats as an important source of all. So we should not abandon the cats, considering that they are susceptible to this particular infection. IDEXX laboratory, this is a big laboratory group which evaluated around 4,000 canine and feline, means dog and cat specimens from all over the world, and they didn't found a single positive result. So this is a very interesting, you see the study, and a wide-scale study which is conducted by IDEXX laboratory. This study aligned with the current expert understanding that COVID-19 is primarily transmitted from one person to another person, and support the recommendation again testing of pets. There was you see that whether we should go for a testing of dogs which are showing the respiratory signs. So this report indicates that there is no need to test the dogs which are showing the respiratory signs. Infectious disease experts as well as CDC, OIE, and WHO indicate there is also no evidence to suggest that pet dogs or cats can be a source of infection, including a spreading of COVID-19 to people. cats can be infected with coronavirus that causes COVID-19, and can spread it to other cats, but dogs are not readily susceptible to the infection. This type of observation has been reported in a world standard, the research journal Nature, published on April 1st. So you must have come across with the news that the tiger was found to be affected with this particular COVID-19 infection. So on April 5th, a 4-year-old tigress at the Bronx Zoo in New York was tested positive. According to the Wildlife Conservation Society, this big cat, that is a tiger, was infected by a caretaker who was not displaying any symptoms of disease. Means the caretaker was a carrier, or he was asymptomatic, but it was positive for a COVID infection, and that particular caretaker transmitted infection to the that particular tiger. So everybody might have seen this particular news. But later on, what happened? Even the 4 tigers and 3 lions from the same zoo were found positive on 14th or 15th April, and it has been reported on 22nd April. So these are the few reports of occurrence of COVID infection in a tiger and lions in a zoo animals. But again, here I would like to share the conclusion that again the tigers and or the lions, they were affected from the the COVID-19 infected human beings. Very recently, on 6th of the May, COVID-19 infection was recorded on 2 farms, mink farms in the Netherlands. So in Netherlands, you see, this is the mink is a semi-aquatic carnivorous mammal bred for their furs. So there are more than 200 farms in the Netherlands wherein the minks, they are being reared for this purpose. So on 2 farms, actually, the disease has been reported. At that time, there was a report that it was again a reverse zoonosis. Means it was infection from human beings to the animal. That was the report. But as far as the recent report is concerned, the recent report which appeared on 21st May, the Dutch authorities have announced that they suspected mink has transmitted the coronavirus to the worker. For the first time, such a type of a report has been made. Even this is not, still it is not confirmed. So this is the announcement made by the minister from the Dutch government, and still it is to be confirmed whether the disease was transmitted from mink to the caretaker or from caretakers or other individuals to the animals. Then whether the primates, primates, they are very close to human beings, genetically very close to the human being, and therefore everybody is interested to know whether the monkeys are susceptible to this particular infection. Investigation have shown that rhesus macaques can be infected, or monkeys can be infected with SARS-CoV-2. Chuan Quinn, an experimental pathologist at Institute of Laboratory, Chinese Academy of Medical Science, and his team experimentally infected adult rhesus macaques with SARS-CoV-2 and found high concentration of the virus in the nose and throat. He proved that the monkeys can be infected. Monkeys showed reduced appetite, means it showed the signs of COVID infection, reduced appetite, weight loss, and increased breathing. However, the illness did not progress to acute respiratory disease. Means the disease was not so severe. Signs were milder. And those monkeys were recovered within a month's time. The infection was cleared in a month's time for the animal's registered reinfection. Again, that animal was challenged by giving, the SARS infection, but that animal did not pick up the infection when the virus was given second time. And this clearly indicated that after recovery from a COVID infection, the monkeys, they develop the immunity. And this type of observation is very much helpful in research as far as the human beings are concerned. But here again, I would like to mention and make it very clear that till date, no clinical case of SARS-CoV-2 infection in monkeys and monkey to human transmission has been recorded. As far as the other animals are concerned, the pigs and birds, because in many parts of the world, the pig meat it is being consumed, chicken meat is also being consumed. In the beginning of this outbreak, there was a the misconception amongst the people that the disease occurred because of eating, or disease may spread or occur because of consumption of meat. But the research, experimental studies, they have confirmed that pigs and birds, they are not susceptible. The team at Harbin Veterinary Research Institute concluded that chicken, pigs, and ducks are not likely to catch SARS-CoV-2 infection. So this is very clear that we are worried whether we should consume eggs or not. So eggs, yes, the disease cannot be spread through the eggs. Disease cannot be spread through the meat or maybe a mutton. The overall experimental studies conducted in different animals. This is the nutshell or the abstract of all. Cats are the most susceptible species. Among the different animal species, cats are most susceptible species. Next to human beings, they are considered they are most susceptible species for SARS-CoV-2, and cats can be affected with a clinical disease. At least in 4 cats, the disease has been recorded and they exhibited the symptoms also. Ferrets, they belong to the same family. They are like a cat, and they are susceptible to infection and able to transmit infection to the other ferrets. They appear to be less affected by clinical disease when we compare it to the cats, but they are next to cats. Hamsters as well as monkeys can be consistently infected with SARS and may show the clinical signs. Dogs appear to be susceptible to infection, but less affected than ferrets or cats. They are susceptible, but they are not the source of infection for human beings. Egyptian fruit bats were also infected in the laboratory setting, but did not show any sign of disease. The infected fruit bats were able to transmit infection to other fruit bats. So earlier I also discussed this point that bats, they are also thought to be source of infection for the other viruses also. So the MERS and CoV-2 also. Many times the viruses, they mutate in the bats and they are then being transmitted to the other animals and then to the human beings. Poultry and pigs are not susceptible to COVID-19 infection. So this is all about the susceptibility of the different animals to the infection. I think during our this interaction and whatever research which has been done in the last 5 months, whatever the reports that have been published in the world literature, I have screened, and based on that I have made this presentation. No doubt in human beings also the much research has not been done. Research is going on. Still, many things are to be understood. As far as our animals are also concerned, whatever research has been done, it is not a, it is a, I will say it's a meager type of a research. A wide-scale research is required, and then only we can give our conclusions, and perhaps new things may come. But whatever research has been done throughout the world, whatever literature is available, that clearly states that it is a human-to-human transmission. It is not animal-to-human transmission. And so I request the public and the people that we should not abandon cats, dogs, which are being reared at home, but we'll have to take due care so that dogs and cats should not be affected from a human beings. Up till now, whatever reports are there, they indicate that the human beings, they have transmitted the infection to the dogs. So COVID affected individuals, they should keep themselves in isolation from the animals. They should not handle dogs and cats which are being see kept as a pet animals, and they should be kept. Even the dogs and cats, they should be isolated. Their feeding utensils should be properly cleaned, sanitized, sterilized, and the contact with the human beings, as far as the contact with human beings is concerned, it should be minimum or should be avoided as far as possible. As far as the large animals are concerned, the organizers, they have included a separate topic on do's and don'ts for during COVID infection on particularly the dairy farms and like that. But here I would like to share one practical query from one of the farmer from Maharashtra. There were 7 people from the Malegaon, which is a hotspot for a COVID. They were affected from one family, and that family business was the cattle rearing. They were the dairy farmers. They were rearing some 10 cows at their farm, and there was a query and question from them that whether the COVID can be transmitted to the dairy animals, and what to do in those cases. Actually, they stopped shelling the milk. That was a welcome step. Here I would like to share that animals, they cannot transmit the disease. But we human beings, when they are touching to any animal body, animal surface, skin, so that skin may get contaminated with the virus. And you all know that touching the surface where the particular affected individual has touched, definitely it transmits the disease. And therefore, touching or the animal may act as a source of infection. So they were asking me for my advice, what we should do. I told them that wash the animals thoroughly with maybe a soap, bathing soap that can be used, and thoroughly animals should be washed so that they will get rid of infection. They should be kept maybe in the sunlight, natural sterilization. So one thing. Second, the sanitization of the complete farm should be done with maybe that 1% sodium hypochlorite solution, which we are using for sanitization. And third thing which I advise, that they should also sanitize the milking utensils. So if we take these 3, you can say, steps on a farm, then definitely we can take a milk of those animals, we can sell the milk of animals. So that type of advice I give. Just I share this practical tip with all of you. Actually, I tried my level best to give whatever information which was available with me. Thank you, organizers, for giving me opportunity to interact on this particular topic with the fellow participants. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Sir Bhekane sir, for such wonderful informative sessions. Sir has quoted the recent statistics and news regarding the animal COVID infection during his presentation on human-animal interface reality. I thank you very much, both the expert, Dr. P.G. Vasnik sir and Dr. Bhekane sir, for being with us, for sharing our platform, as well as thank you very much for Maharashtra Animal Fishery Sciences University, Mapsuna. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.